Thanks, everybody. I'm really honored to be here, and do want to start by saying thank you. Teachers do the most important job in the world, in my opinion, and probably one of the hardest jobs in the world. And people very rarely say thank you to them for doing that work. So, thank you. But here we go. So, I'm going to talk a little bit about teaching, the most important job in the world, and how it relates not just to what teachers do, but to school reform and education more broadly. And I want to first give you some background, just kind of tell a story about how I came to be standing up here. And it starts with an accident. The accident is my writing a book at all. I didn't set out to write a book. I don't know how we imagine someone starting to write a book. You get an idea, right? You write a version of the book and you send it off to people. But it didn't happen that way for me. In either case, both of my books sort of foisted themselves upon me. I work at Uncommon Schools. We're an organization that runs 32 schools in high poverty neighborhoods around the Northeast, in Boston, in Newark, New Jersey, in Brooklyn, in upstate New York. And when we started this organization, we decided that we were going to try and run schools that were better, that got kids to college and prepared to succeed in college at a higher rate, because it was an urgent moral need. And so we hired really smart, driven, committed people, and we put them in the classroom, and we described the vision that we'd set up of these schools. And they came back to us pretty quickly, because they were people of integrity and people of high standards, and they said, you know, we love the dream that you described to us, but we're not good enough. And what we're doing in the classroom is good, but it's not great. And if we're not great every minute, we're not going to be able to take kids who haven't had the same opportunities. We're not going to be able to catch them up, and we're not going to be able to have them be prepared to take seats in college from students who've been born to privilege, and we're not going to have them be able to succeed there. And so they said, you have to get better at making us better. And this was kind of daunting for us, because it made us realize for the first time that the first obligation of any organization, particularly an organization that does work that's socially important, but any organization really in the human capital sector, the first obligation of that organization is to make its people better, and we weren't doing that. And so we went out to try and solve this problem, and first we said, well, here's some books that we've read about teaching, and oftentimes they just weren't that helpful. They were describing different situations that our teachers were facing in the classroom, and the solutions that they had didn't work or weren't that relevant. And so I had just finished going to business school here, and it was an incredible experience. And so I did what I'd sort of been trained to do, which is I went to some data, and I tried to sort of analyze, well, so where are the great teachers who solve this problem? There must be people who solve these problems that our teachers are facing. Where are they? How do they do them? What makes them different from other people? And to find those people, I started with a data set. And this is a data set like the one that I started with. This is a picture of New York State. Every orange dot on this scatter plot is a public school in New York State, and every school is graphed according to two factors. On the x-axis is the percentage of kids in any school who live in poverty, so all poverty over here on the right, no poverty on the left. And on the y-axis is the percentage of kids who passed the state test. In this case, it was the 2011 6th grade math results. And then the black line, the diagonal line down the middle, which slopes downward, is the line of best fit. If there are any statisticians in the room, I apologize for what I'm about to do to my effort to describe what that line is. It's the line on the graph that's the least total distance. It's the least amount of total distance from all the points on the graph. In other words, it tells you what you would essentially predict the level of proficiency would be for any school, given its level of poverty, based on the actual performance of schools in New York State. So if I had a school that was 70% poverty, I would go to the line and read across, and it would tell me that I would predict that there would be 52% of those kids passing the state test in 2011. And so the line slopes down steeply, as you can see. And that, where we started out, as we thought about this, was a lot of concern about that line. It's the reason why a lot of people are in this room right now. The notion that that zip code, if not destiny, that zip code can be such a massive effect on educational outcomes, and we wanted to change that. And we spent a lot of time bewailing and bemoaning this situation, as people do all across the country every day, until someone, someone said to us, is it really destiny. I mean, I know that the correlation generally is higher poverty, lower student outcomes, but look in the upper right-hand corner of this graph. There are people who beat the odds every day, who with the same poverty and the same potentially disinterested parents and the same ravages of social, social pressures and all those sorts of things, they still do it, and their kids still achieve. What about those people? And I just think it's interesting that these people are throughout the teaching profession. They're rarely acknowledged. Some of them are in the room right now. And we haven't really been diligent enough in our profession about finding out who they are and finding out what makes them different from the merely good. So this started out as just being my bootstrap effort to find as many of these people as I could and describe them to my colleagues so that they could do the things that they did. I'm a really concrete person. My wife might argue too concrete sometimes, but I just tried to boil it down to a thing that you could do or say on Monday morning that these teachers tended to do to make you better. And that became Teach Like a Champion. I described 49 techniques that I thought differentiated these teachers from others. I did my best to describe the things that really made these teachers different. I can't wait to write the second version of the book. There'll be lots of things that I emphasize more that are different. The only thing I know for sure about the book is that some of it has to be wrong. I mean, of course it's wrong. I was in a classroom of an incredible teacher, and she did the incredible thing that makes her so good, and I was looking out the window, or I was looking the wrong way, or I concluded the wrong thing about it. That had to have happened. But it's also hard for me to believe that some of it isn't also right. And that watching so many incredible teachers could not have yielded insight that even a guy like me could have captured. And so that's where the book came from. And I know that there's power in the ideas that I took from teachers and power in bright spots. And so we really believe in bright spots, in studying success, studying successes as opposed to the problem, and figuring out what we can learn from that. We also like it because it's just a really positive place to be, as opposed to sort of saying we do impossible work that will, until we solve poverty, we will never solve education. That's not a very optimistic place that inspires me to feel like I'm making a difference every day. And I'm sorry, but poverty is going to be with us for a long time, and I just don't think we can wait that long to solve educational problems. As soon as I went into these people's classrooms and with just my jaw dropped with inspiration, I realized I had to take a video camera with me to show people. So this is Shadell Noel. She teaches kindergarten at North Star Academy in Newark, New Jersey, and this is her reading group.
Okay, scholars. So today we're going to read a book called Clever Fox. The title of our book is Clever Fox. The title of our book is Clever Fox. Does anyone know what clever means? What does clever mean? What does clever mean? Kayla, do you know what clever means?
No.
No. Okay, Isaiah.
Clever means smart.
Clever means that you're really smart. Kayla, what does clever mean?
Clever means smart.
Clever means that you're smart. So looking at the front cover, what do you notice? What do you notice?
And we would invite 150 teachers or school leaders to come spend 2 days watching video and studying the techniques that great teachers did. And it was really exciting, and the conversation was deep and inspirational, and people left when they filled out their surveys afterwards. When they gave us feedback, they said, I've never learned so much. Now I understand what I want my classroom to look like. I can't wait to get back on Monday morning. And so we felt really good about this. And then we talked to them 6 months later. And what they said was, I still have that vision in my head. I still know the teacher that I want to be. I know what I want my classroom to look like, but my classroom doesn't look like that yet. And what we realized that there was an immense gap between get it and do it. And that we had and we instantly put this clip of Gary into all of our workshops because it's so, I think it's really fantastic. And it's not the same as Shadell's. It's slightly different from what Shadell does in all the other videos that we show. So here's Gary. I may not be able to show you the whole thing, but I'll show you a little bit of it.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Thank you. All right, looking around, I saw some good math. I saw some simple mistakes, but mostly I saw a lot of thought. I saw a lot of thought and a lot of effort, and whenever we have those two things, we're always going to be successful. So let's take a look at what we have. Andrew, can you please read number 1 for us?
A square has sides that measure 4 centimeters each.
Here we are, Mia. What now?
The
then you're going to multiply 2 times 3 to get the language is 6. And then multiply 5 times 3, which is 15.
Yes. The length of this one was 2 times the scale factor of 3. The new one is 6 inches. Now, let's see, Jasmine, what are we multiplying by? Marina, what will be the size of our new square? All right, let's see. Remy, what do we do now?
Go to your small rectangle and add 5 and 2 together twice, and you'll get 14.
Excellent. And that, so you're finding the what?
The perimeter.
Yeah, you found the perimeter of our little scale. That common difference is also known as our what?
Rate of change.
Rate of change.
I'm sorry, the common difference is also known as our?
Rate of change.
Rate of change, thank you. And Kayla, what is this common difference?